Alright, so we're back in the world of Path of Exile 2, and today guys, I want to talk to you guys about my leveling build for the Amazon. I know a lot of players have been having a pretty hard time going through the campaign with spears being essentially borderline unplayable, and I just kind of want to share my progression, what I did, and then the build that I've been using since, just so you guys can maybe have something that will work in your favor. The build I'm currently using in terms of like past Act 1 and 2 is a Ballista focused build that for the most part is pretty nice because you don't necessarily have to like face off against enemies head on for the most part, and you can just kind of freely shoot at them. As you can probably tell with some of the footage in the background, it's a lot of just things going off. You're not necessarily fighting, and it's a really nice build that you can use early as Act 3. I'm going to just talk you guys through the build and just give you guys a better understanding of it. But yeah, let's dive into the builds. Now, before we dive into the build, I did want to quickly just give you a better idea of the build and why we're doing it. So the core concept and the idea behind the build is essentially you want a build that is really good at being able to deal damage while you're not able to like shoot, because for the most part the game's dangerous. Everything is always hitting you faster than you can hit it, and the ballistas are actually really nice at giving you the opportunity to deal damage while you're avoiding the mini one-shot and ridiculously fast attacks that is thrown at you for the most part. The benefit to this is obvious. Yeah, you're going to be able to just automate it and just kind of shoot. There are some negatives that comes with this build, and you'll probably tell visually on the screen. It's really hard to kind of see. That's a massive negative that comes with the build. Generally speaking, just run away. So that's, I guess it's okay. Just run away, so it's fine. But for the most part, that's one of the negatives. And the other negative is you need to get to Act 3 before this build can come online for the most part, which means the first two acts, which are the hardest, are going to be the hardest. It's going to be like a major negative, right? Because that's when the game build actually comes online, after the hard part. But besides that, you know, there's not too many negatives. A lot of good positives. You get move speed, you get a lot of skill speed with the build. Amazon, despite being very, very weak early, it's actually a very strong class that is a singular scaling class. It's going to scale very heavy with accuracy, meaning you're going to dex stack and you're going to accuracy stack, and that's like super positive. So it's super easy to build. Besides that, that's kind of the core concept. Let's go over the actual gear and pieces and everything like that. Now, keep in mind, down in the description, I will have a Mobalytics link that will tell you how to level 1 through, Act 1 to Act 2. And then from here, I'll just talk to you about Act 3 through Act 6. And I'll have that in the Mobalytics under like a separate tab, basically, within that guide for the most part. Anyway, let's go over how I'm going to be building this so you guys have a better understanding of how you should do it. So let's go over the gems because they're going to be the most important. Obviously, we're going to be utilizing Herald of Ash. We're going to be utilizing Wind Dancer for our primary auras. We're going to be using Cannibalism as well as Clarity. Clarity is going to help us with mana sustain. If you don't have mana issues, which you probably won't, you can use Vitality here instead. There's going to be some good options for you to use for, you know, for your build. We're also going to be using Oil Grenade. This is just going to give a debuff as well as pin for fire. And then we're going to use Magnified Effect as well as Encumbrance. Now, for our main like damage dealing, we're going to be using Artillery Ballista. Artillery Ballista is going to be really good with levels, and that's going to be what you're going to try to level it really well with. We're going to have Overabundance. It's just going to give you an additional one. As you can see here, we can have 2, which we can actually have 4, but we can have 2 when you have that put into your build. And then we're going to put Primal Armament around Act 3. I think you can get this at Act 3. If you can't use this in Act 3, you can use Fire Infusion and then swap to Primal Armament. But basically, you're going to use Fire Infusion or Primal Armament depending on what you have available. Once you get to this point, if you do somehow get a Greater Orb during your leveling phase like I did, I would go with Scattershot because it's going to make them drop multiples and it will just pepper the area a lot better. But again, you may not have that, so that's you know, that's more than fine. Now, personally, I'm using Siege Cascade, but what I believe is a much better setup is basically going to be a combination of Flash Grenade, a combination of Explosive Grenade, and then you're going to use what is the ability Explosive Shot to basically trigger the grenade. So that's what you're going to probably use, and this is probably what you could use in Act 1 and 2 as well. Well, you're not going to be able to get Explosive Shot until late Act 2, But essentially that's how you're going to be playing it if you want to do maybe a little bit more damage. So explosive flash with explosive shot, throw your grenades down, shoot it, it'll make them proc, and you'll do really well that way for like more single target, I guess. Besides that, that's pretty much all you're gonna do with the links. Anything else you want to put to this, that's up to you. If you want to use Siege Cascade, just know it's not the best for single target, and that's what you're gonna lack a little bit of in this build. But for the most part, this is what I use. Going over our passive tree, which again for Act 1 through 2, I will have its own passive tree. For this beyond, this is the passive tree you're going to be using, and we're just going to basically go down the accuracy line because, well, actually we can come over here first. When you're playing the Amazon, because this is an Amazon build, she gets benefits for scaling accuracy, and this is going to be like a dex accuracy stacker build. If I do push this to like Ballista, heavy on the Ballista, you're basically going to be stacking accuracy. You're going to do dex stacking pretty heavy, because that gives you accuracy, and that's how you get the benefits for crit strike as well as the benefits for penetrate. Gives you damage based on your extra accuracy. Crossbows usually have pretty high base accuracy, so you go over 100%, you just get a ton of extra. That's kind of the rundown. Anyway, what you're going to be getting is accuracy, critical strike, and then if you are able to ascend, you're going to get skill speed as well as predatory instinct. I think predatory instinct is a better first one, but I see people pick critical strike sometimes, so not sure which one would be best first, but I like predatory instinct because skill speed is really good. So that's how you would get your ascendancy. In terms of this, like actual passives, you're gonna go attack damage, attack speed. You're gonna come here, get this, and then you're gonna grab all the accuracy since you're gonna be scaling your damage based on accuracy. Grab strength and dex depending on what you need. You're gonna come over here and get all the primal centering for the elemental damage on the attacks. I would get this last, not last, but like not first, basically. So you'll get this eventually, but cooked is like super good. You're going to grab this early, escape velocity early, and then you're going to come down here, you're going to grab catalysis, then you're going to make your way up here, grab maiming strike, come this way, make sure you grab acceleration, and as well as falcon dive is going to give you a bit. Come all the way here, you could come over here and grab this first, and then grab the falcon thing, but I think this is pretty good. You're going to grab watchtowers, this is going to give you one totem, and then sometimes you'll be able to summon multiple totems. Summon 2, doing a video. There you go. And so sometimes you'll like randomly summon 2 and then make it a little bit easier on your mana. And then it'll give you more totems. You can go like the middle here on this side if you want. I just liked it. You're going to get this, but I think coming over here is more priority because this will give you another one. That's why I can do 4. And then you're going to just grab these here. And then technically I would double back over here and grab this. And then eventually come over here, grab the accuracy because you'll have more accuracy then, and then grab this crit is how I would do it. Then next, if you're wondering where I'm going, if you're like at the end of the act, you're going this way, you're grabbing this dex, you're grabbing this enhanced reflexes, and you're getting the bestial skin, and then you're going to grab this accuracy here all the way to farsighted, and then falcon technique. And that's kind of what you're going to be building for if you're doing the passive tree. So hopefully that makes sense. It'll be down in the mobilytics. Finally, for our weapon or our gear, there's really not too much to say here, if I'm being honest, because for the most part, you're just kind of doing what you can. Going over my stats, I have near capped things, and I have really high evasion for the most. I guess 50 is okay. But I felt like resistances was kind of important because things were hitting really hard. But for the most part, I had cold resistance capped through the whole campaign. Fire was about 50 as well as lightning about 50 through the entire game. Generally speaking, keep your reses up because it's going to be hard for you to deal damage, stay alive, because for the most part with this build, it's just a kind of build that doesn't get a lot of defense. It just gets a lot of offense, and she herself is not very defensive. So you're going to focus heavy on staying alive defensively with your gear and stuff like that, and like evading. I did that a lot with her, but yeah, it is what it is. In terms of gear, what's important is grabbing a crossbow that has increased elemental damage with attacks, percent increased elemental damage with attacks, and levels to skill projectile skills. Everything else is kind of whatever. What you need is the elemental damage to attacks as well as the 3 levels to projectile skills. That's super important. Down in the description, I will have a Path of Exile trade like link set up for you, so you can go ahead and just essentially link like follow it. It will be probably about 50-ish so maybe adjust it based on the level that you have. But I think I paid 2 exalted for this, so should be very cheap because people don't really utilize crossbows. Other than that, just get a combination of resistances, put your runes in. Resistances, accuracy is really good, more accuracy, evasion, and just go to try to cap your res. I don't think there's really too much to really go off of here. The most important thing is just to have a bow with elemental damage with attacks and numbers to projectile skills. Like, that's the most important thing. Besides that, that's pretty much it for the build. Hopefully this gave you a better idea of a build that you can utilize, and hopefully the build is actually able to help you through the campaign. It's a really rough one early on, and it's actually pretty tough. But for the most part, it should be acceptable, I guess. Well, I would like to hope. But yeah, anyway guys, that's gonna be it for this one. Leave me a like, that helps me out a ton. Subscribe for more PoE content, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.